Once again, some of us are learning about some new salacious details about the president's adult son, Hunter. Stuff we didn't really want to know. According to the new report from the Daily Mail, which included video that we can't show you on TV, Hunter Biden seems to tell a woman identified by the Daily Mail as a Russian sex worker that drug dealers have stolen one of his laptops. This is apparently a separate laptop from the one left at that computer repair shop in Delaware. Now, remember when Twitter banned the New York Post for reporting on Hunter's laptop? They only had to reverse the ban at the time. You also see President Biden speaking there in the lower right-hand screen of your corner. We're going to monitor that. He is talking about the Build Back Better initiative and what he plans to do. So we'll monitor that. But let's continue to talk about Hunter Biden. Historically, the president's children have been shielded from intense scrutiny. And it's fair to say that Hunter deserves some space when it comes to dealing with his personal issues. But when it comes to Hunter's professional issues, that's a different story. At least it should be. There's a serious lack of curiosity from the corporate media when it comes to the Biden's family business deals. Maybe because they get their hands slapped for asking about it. Remember this question about Hunter's pending art sales to anonymous buyers?
He's not going to have any conversations related to the selling of art. That will be left to the gallerist, as was outlined in the agreement that we announced just a few weeks ago. We believe this is a reasonable system that has been established that allows for Hunter Biden to work in his profession within appropriate safeguards. So he's not going to discuss anything related to the selling of art. And I would reiterate that the gallerist will be the only person who handles transactions or conversations in that vein and will reject any offer that is out of the ordinary.
Just like he never talked to his dad about any foreign business deals, which we know to be true. Yet CBS News, of course, reporting that Biden will attend 2 art shows later this year in New York and Los Angeles, where his paintings could fetch as much as $500,000. Now, here's more historical context on that. Back in December of 2017, CNN was forced to issue a correction for a fake news report about Donald Trump Jr. And here is what the New York Times wrote at the time. Quote, CNN on Friday corrected an erroneous report that Donald Trump Jr. had received advance notice from WikiLeaks about a trove of hacked documents that it planned to release during last year's presidential campaign. In fact, emails to Mr. Trump was sent a day after the documents stolen from the Democratic National Committee were made public to everyone. The correction undercut the main thrust of CNN's story, which had been seized upon by critics of President Trump as evidence of coordination between WikiLeaks and the Trump campaign. So fake news. Now, Politico also called out CNN at the time for extending its, quote, run of journalistic mishaps. So you're a monster, really, for reporting on Hunter Biden's foreign business deals, but a major factual error by CNN, which requires a retraction, is just a mishap. You see how that works? Let's talk more about this now with Isabel Brown from Turning Point USA. Also back with us, Patrice Leon-Wuka from the Independent Women's Forum, and Jack Brewer with us as well. So, again, we saw the press, Patrice, falling all over themselves to try and convict the Trump kids. But, when anything that comes up with Hunter Biden, it's off limits to Democrats and to a lot of the press corps. Why is that?
Oh, well, certainly they wanted to sink President Trump and anyone in the Trump orbit, but they want to protect President Biden and anyone in the Biden orbit. And I think many of the media recognize that Hunter Biden is an Achilles heel for President Biden. His son gets involved in lots of issues, sticky situations that if the general public knew about, they would certainly give President Biden a second eye. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of big tech social media companies be complicit in squashing and holding down any reporting on it. And it's frankly, it's wrong. If we want to have a free press to support a free democracy, then we need the press to actually do its job.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, Isabel, Hunter Biden, as far as I know, is still under a federal tax evasion investigation. I just checked on a fact-checking website. They say it's true. Hunter Biden is under investigation for his tax dealings. And that is why these stories are important here, because we need to get a view of the totality of what Hunter Biden was doing overseas, what he's still doing overseas, and how this affects the president.
Overseas and here at home, John, every one of these stories that seems to be emerging from Hunter Biden is directly in relation to his relationship with the president in some way, shape, or form. And the American people deserve to know what's happening behind the scenes. Could we just imagine for a moment if Donald Trump Jr. was having stories being written about him and then subsequently covered up and encouraged not to be looked into, of smoking Parmesan cheese, of dealing with illicit drug abuse and addiction, of engaging in the buying and selling of human beings through prostitution and sex work and potentially even human trafficking, let alone the tax evasion and the foreign business dealings that may be nefarious there behind the scenes. The American people deserve better from our leadership. And when we fail to call out this behavior as what it is, immoral and unacceptable in our society, we set a new standard for what is considered moral and acceptable in the United States of America. At the very least, the press and other elected officials should be identifying this very illicit negative behavior as wrong in society, first and foremost, and then investigating it further to understand what the relationship to the White House may be.
Now, Jack, every time we talk about Hunter Biden, I know you usually offer a prayer for him. I know you are concerned about his well-being, as all of us are. But really, the beef here is with the way that the media refuses to cover these things the same way. If it was, worth setting your hair on fire to cover Donald Trump Jr. for some allegation that he may have got this information from WikiLeaks, why are they not as, insistent on covering the things that involve Hunter Biden?
I think it's a sickness. I think it's a spiritual sickness is what we're seeing and witnessing. If you think about it, no matter what a Democrat that's in power does, they never get called out for it. The only reason you saw Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, be called out is because that was from within his own party. He made someone mad within his own party who wanted to take his position, and so they finally pushed this forward despite dozens of women coming out with accusations. And so this is what happens when you deal with the spiritual realm. And these folks have an agenda, and they're backed by this leftist media that pushes all of their narratives. Let's not forget, Joe Biden has still not been held accountable for passing the 1994 crime bill that literally mass incarcerated African Americans across the country disproportionately. No one held him accountable for that. He's praised by the very same people that he literally locked up. And so when you have a party that's this dark, to where that they only see bad things if it's someone that's not in their party. It's all about power. And I think that power grab is really what's fueling this. I mean, to have a son of a president to take that much money in.
A power grab or blinders, to what's going on here, it doesn't seem like there's a real acknowledgement of how it looks from the outside within the administration. Guys, great to see everyone. Our thanks to Jack, Isabel, and Patrice.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.